The notification sound from my laptop cuts through the quiet hum of my apartment like a knife. Another rejection email. My finger hovers over the delete button, but something makes me click it open instead. Thank you for your interest, but Nexus Games doesn't accept unsolicited pitches from amateur developers. Amateur. The word stings worse than the 100th rejection this month. I lean back in my desk chair, staring at the chaotic wall of sticky notes, concept art, and flowcharts that represent 2 years of my life. My indie game studio, if you can call one person working 16-hour days in a cramped studio apartment a studio, feels more like a delusion with every passing rejection. The half-empty energy drink cans scattered across my desk catch the afternoon light streaming through my window, creating small rainbows that mock my current mood. My phone buzzes. A text from my older brother, Marcus. Family dinner tonight. Dad's making his famous steaks. Try not to talk about your little video game hobby. Sarah's bringing her new boyfriend, and we don't want to scare him off with your gaming obsession. Little video game hobby. As if Quantum Echo, my revolutionary puzzle platformer that seamlessly blends time manipulation mechanics with emotional storytelling, is just some weekend project I'm tinkering with between Netflix binges. As if I haven't sacrificed my social life, my savings account, and my relationship with Jessica for this dream. I type back, "It's called a business, Marcus, and I'll talk about whatever I want." His response comes instantly. LOL, okay, sure. See you at 7. Try to shower first. My blood pressure spikes, but I force myself to breathe. Tonight's family dinner is going to be another battlefield where I'm expected to defend my choices while everyone else gets celebrated for their conventional successes. Marcus with his corporate law practice, Sarah with her marketing director position, and me, the family disappointment who plays video games for a living. But maybe tonight will be different. Maybe tonight I'll finally have something concrete to show them. I minimize the rejection email and pull up my latest pitch deck. Quantum Echo isn't just another indie game. It's a genre-defining experience that could revolutionize how players think about time, choice, and consequence. The demo I've been perfecting shows a glimpse of something truly special. A world where every decision ripples through time, where players must navigate not just physical puzzles but emotional ones, where the past, present, and future exist simultaneously and influence each other in meaningful ways. The game follows Luna, a timekeeper who discovers that reality is fracturing. Players must repair temporal breaks by solving puzzles that require manipulating different timelines simultaneously. But here's the breakthrough. Instead of just being a mechanical gimmick, the time manipulation reflects the emotional weight of Luna's choices. When she saves someone in the past, she experiences their joy in the present. When she prevents a tragedy, she feels the ripple effects across multiple timelines. And it's ambitious, personal, and unlike anything currently in the market. And apparently, that's exactly why no one wants to publish it. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's my best friend, Jake, the only person who really understands what I'm trying to build. Dude, did you see the news? Nexus Games just got bought out by some mystery investor. Complete acquisition, new management, everything. Maybe your luck's about to change? I click over to the gaming news sites. Sure enough, the headlines are exploding with speculation about Nexus Games' sudden acquisition. The company that just rejected me 20 minutes ago is now under entirely new ownership. The irony isn't lost on me, but it also sparks something else. Hope. Maybe this is the universe telling me to keep pushing forward. 4 hours later, I'm standing outside my parents' suburban home, clutching a leather portfolio containing printed concept art, technical specifications, and financial projections for Quantum Echo. The familiar scent of Dad's barbecue sauce drifts through the evening air, mixing with the sound of laughter from the backyard. For a moment, I'm 8 years old again, excited to show my family the comic book I'd drawn, the story I'd written, the game I'd programmed on our old computer. That excitement died somewhere between middle school and college, when creative became synonymous with impractical in my family's vocabulary. The front door opens before I can knock. There's our little game designer. Mom's voice is warm, but carries that undertone of concern she's perfected over the years. She pulls me into a hug that smells like vanilla and worry. "How's the job search going, honey?" "I'm not job searching, Mom. I'm building a company." She gives me that look, the one that says she's proud of my ambition, but wishes I'd chosen something more stable, like accounting or insurance sales. Of course, dear. Well, come on. Everyone's out back. The backyard is strung with Edison bulbs that cast a warm glow over the familiar scene. Dad mans the grill with the focused intensity of a surgeon. Mom fusses over the side dishes arranged on the patio table, and my siblings hold court near the fire pit with drinks in hand. Sarah's new boyfriend, some clean-cut finance guy named Brad, nods politely as Marcus regales him with stories about his latest high-profile case. Alex? Sarah waves me over, her smile genuine despite everything. Come meet Brad. Brad, this is my little brother, the one I told you about. The one she told him about. I wonder which version of that story he heard, the creative dreamer version or the unemployed basement dweller version. Nice to meet you. Brad extends a firm handshake and the kind of smile that suggests he's already sized me up and found me wanting. Sarah mentioned you're in tech. Game development, I correct. I'm building an interactive experience that explores temporal mechanics through emotional narrative. Brad's smile falters slightly. Oh, like mobile games? Before I can respond, Marcus appears at my shoulder with a beer in each hand. My brother thinks he's going to be the next big video game mogul, he announces to the group, his tone walking that fine line between affectionate and condescending. Alex, meet Brad. Brad's a portfolio manager at Steinberg and Associates. Real money, real results. Unlike fake money and fake results? I ask, accepting the beer he offers me. Hey, I'm just saying, Marcus shrugs. Some of us chose career paths with measurable success metrics. Sarah jumps in, sensing the tension. Alex has always been incredibly creative. Remember that game he made in high school? With the little spaceships? Asteroid Redux, I say quietly. It was featured in the school's STEM showcase. Right, and everyone loved it, Sarah continues, shooting Marcus a warning look. Everyone at our podunk high school, Marcus clarifies. No offense, Alex, but there's a difference between impressing teenagers and building an actual business. I'm just looking out for you, man. This indie game thing? When's the last time you made any actual money from it? The question hangs in the air like smoke from Dad's grill. I take a long sip of beer, buying time while the familiar weight of family disappointment settles on my shoulders. It's not about the money yet. It's about building something meaningful. Meaningful doesn't pay rent, Marcus says, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Look, I get it. Gaming is fun. But you're 26 years old. Don't you think it's time to be realistic about your future? Realistic like spending 60 hours a week helping corporations avoid taxes? Realistic like being able to afford a house, a car, a life? Marcus gestures around the backyard. Mom and Dad worked their asses off to give us opportunities. Sarah and I are making the most of them. You're playing video games in your apartment. The conversation dies as Dad approaches with a platter of perfectly grilled steaks. What's all the arguing about now? He asks, though his tone suggests he already knows. Just career advice, Marcus says smoothly, trying to help Alex see the bigger picture. Dad sets down the platter and looks at me with that expression I know so well. Love mixed with frustration mixed with a deep, abiding wish that I'd chosen an easier path. Alex, you know we support whatever makes you happy. But your mother and I worry about your future. This game thing, it's been 2 years. Maybe it's time to consider some backup options? My hand tightens around the beer bottle. 2 years. As if building something revolutionary should happen overnight. As if every great innovation in history didn't require years of struggle, rejection, and persistence. I actually wanted to show you all something, I say, pulling out my portfolio. I've been working on this project. Oh, God, Marcus mutters under his breath. Here we go. I ignore him and spread the concept art across the patio table, pushing aside salad bowls and condiments to make room. The images show Luna in various temporal states, past, present, and future versions of herself working together to solve increasingly complex puzzles. The art style is dreamlike but grounded, emotional but not overwrought. This is Quantum Echo, I begin, my voice gaining strength as I dive into familiar territory. It's a puzzle platformer that uses time manipulation not just as a mechanical gimmick, but as a way to explore the emotional weight of choice and consequence. Brad picks up one of the concept sheets, studying it with polite interest. The art is really impressive. Did you do this yourself? Everything: art, programming, design, music composition. I pull up the demo on my laptop, angling the screen so everyone can see. Here's the opening sequence. Watch how the time mechanics work. For the next 10 minutes, I walk them through Luna's world. I show them how players can rewind their actions to explore different emotional outcomes, how the puzzles require not just spatial reasoning, but empathy, how the narrative adapts based on the temporal choices players make. I explain the market research I've done, the competitive analysis, the revenue projections. When I finish, there's a moment of genuine quiet. Dad scratches his chin thoughtfully. Sarah looks impressed despite herself. Even Brad seems engaged. Then Marcus speaks. Okay, I'll admit the production values are good. Really good, actually. But Alex, be honest with me. How much money have you made from this? It's not released yet. I'm seeking a publisher. Right, so $0. How much have you spent developing it? I hesitate. The number is higher than I want to admit. Investment in a business requires upfront capital. How much, Alex? $43,000. The number lands like a physical blow. Sarah gasps softly. Dad's face goes carefully neutral. Mom, who has been quietly listening from the kitchen doorway, makes a small sound of distress. 43,000, Marcus repeats slowly, on a video game that nobody wants to publish. I've had interest, but no offers, no contracts, no revenue. Marcus's voice takes on that courtroom precision that made him successful in law. Alex, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you see reality. You've spent $43,000 and 2 years of your life on something that the market has repeatedly told you it doesn't want. The market doesn't always recognize innovation immediately. The market is how we measure success in business, and by that measure, your startup is a failure. The word hits me like a slap. Failure, not struggling or finding its footing or ahead of its time. Failure. Marcus, that's enough, Sarah warns, but her voice lacks conviction. Is it? How long are we going to enable this delusion? Marcus turns to address our parents. Mom, Dad, you've been financially supporting him while he chases this fantasy. Don't you think your money could be better invested in something with actual potential for returns? We're not enablers, Mom says quietly. We're his family. Being family means telling the truth, even when it hurts. Marcus turns back to me, his expression softening slightly. Alex, I love you. We all do. But love means helping you succeed, not watching you throw your life away on pipe dreams. Pipe dreams? My voice comes out sharper than I intended. You think innovation is a pipe dream? You think creativity has no value? I think $43,000 with zero return on investment speaks for itself. You know what? I start gathering up my concept art, my hands shaking with suppressed rage. You're right, the market has spoken. Publishers don't want innovation. They want safe, formulaic, focus-grouped garbage that maximizes profit and minimizes risk. They want another Call of Duty clone or Match 3 mobile game packed with microtransactions. Maybe they want things that actually sell, Marcus says. Maybe they're wrong. I stuff the portfolio under my arm and stand up. Maybe the entire industry is so risk-averse and profit-obsessed that they can't recognize something genuinely revolutionary when they see it. Or maybe, Marcus's voice takes on that maddeningly reasonable tone, the professionals who make money in this industry know something you don't. The backyard falls silent except for the crackling of the fire pit. Dad flips a steak that doesn't need flipping. Mom rearranges side dishes that are already perfectly arranged. Sarah stares at her wine glass like it holds the secrets of the universe. You know what the difference is between you and me, Marcus? I ask, my voice surprisingly calm. Enlighten me. You measure success by how well you fit into existing systems. I measure it by how much you change them. That's a beautiful philosophy, Marcus says. Let me know how it works out when you're 40 and still living in that studio apartment. I don't trust myself to respond. Instead, I walk toward the house, past the grill with its perfect steaks, past the perfectly arranged family gathering. past the perfectly conventional life that everyone expects me to want. Alex, honey, please stay for dinner, Mom calls after me. I pause at the sliding door and turn back to look at them. My family, gathered around the fire, their faces a mixture of concern and disappointment and love. For a moment, I consider staying. Consider eating dad steaks and talking about safe topics and pretending that tonight didn't just crystallize everything I've been feeling for the past 2 years. And instead, I say, "Tell me something, Marcus. What's your favorite game?" The question catches him off guard. What? Your favorite video game, the one you still play when no one's looking. He looks uncomfortable, like I've asked him to admit to something embarrassing. I used to play some stuff in college. Come on, everyone has one. The game that made you fall in love with gaming, even if you won't admit it anymore. Sarah jumps in, sensing an opportunity to diffuse the tension. Marcus is obsessed with this medieval strategy game. What's it called? Empire something? Empire of Shadows, Marcus admits reluctantly. It's actually pretty well designed. Made by Nexus Games, I say, connecting the dots. The same company that rejected my pitch this morning. See? Marcus's voice takes on a triumphant tone. Even you admit they make good games. Maybe there's a reason they didn't want yours. I smile then, a cold, calculated expression that surprises even me. Maybe there is. I leave them with that thought and walk out into the night, my portfolio tucked under my arm and my mind already racing with possibilities. As I drive home through the suburban streets where I grew up, past the parks where I used to dream about creating worlds, I make a decision that will change everything. Marcus thinks the market has spoken. He thinks professional success means fitting into existing systems and accepting their judgment. He thinks my dreams are pipe dreams and my innovation is delusion. He's about to learn exactly how wrong he is. The next morning, I sit in my apartment with a cup of coffee and my laptop, staring at the news article Jake had sent me. Nexus Games acquired in shock purchase. The more I read, the more interesting the story becomes. The acquisition was completely out of nowhere. An anonymous buyer through a shell company, full purchase price paid in cash, new management installed immediately. Current speculation puts the purchase price somewhere between $50 and $70 million. $50 to $70 million. The number seems impossible, like something from a different universe where money flows like water and people make decisions based on vision rather than fear. But what really catches my attention is a smaller detail buried in the third paragraph. The acquisition came with a complete personnel shakeup. The entire development team, including the director who rejected my pitch, has been replaced with new hires. It's like someone bought the company specifically to clean house and start fresh. I pull up Nexus Games' website and click through to their careers page. Sure enough, there are dozens of new job postings. Senior game designer, lead programmer, art director, community manager. And at the top of the list, a position that makes my heart race. Creative director, new projects division. The job description reads like it was written specifically for someone like me, seeking visionary game designer to lead development of innovative, narrative-driven experiences that push the boundaries of interactive storytelling. Must have experience with experimental mechanics, emotional narrative design, and a passion for creating games that matter. Games that matter. When was the last time I heard someone in the industry talk about games mattering? I click through to the application portal and spend the next 4 hours crafting the most comprehensive pitch of my life. I upload my Quantum Echo demo, my design documents, my technical specifications, my art portfolio. I write a cover letter that explains not just what I've built, but why I've built it. I talk about the potential of games to explore complex emotional themes, to make players think and feel and grow. By the time I hit submit, the afternoon sun is streaming through my apartment windows, and I feel something I haven't felt in months: hope. My phone buzzes with a text from Jake. Heard you applied to Nexus. Dude, that's amazing. New ownership might be exactly what you need. Worth a shot, I text back. Worst case, it's just another rejection. Best case, you're about to become the creative director at one of the most influential indie studios in the business. I spend the rest of the day trying to distract myself, but my mind keeps drifting to possibilities. What if this new owner really is looking for innovation? What if they bought Nexus specifically to support projects like Quantum Echo? What if everything is about to change? 2 days later, I get the call. Hello, is this Alex Chen? The voice is professional, efficient, with a slight accent I can't place. This is Alex. My name is Victoria Sterling. I'm the new head of development at Nexus Games. I'm calling about your application for the creative director position. My heart stops. Yes? I've reviewed your materials, including the Quantum Echo demo. I have to say it's exactly the kind of innovative thinking we're looking for under our new ownership. Would you be available for an interview tomorrow morning? Absolutely, yes. Tomorrow works perfectly. Excellent. Our offices are downtown, 1247 Industrial Boulevard. Ask for me at reception. And Alex, bring everything. We want to see the full scope of your vision. The line goes dead and I sit staring at my phone for a full minute before the reality hits me. An interview at Nexus Games for a creative director position. I call Jake immediately. Dude, they want to interview me. No fucking way. Tomorrow morning, Jake, this could be it. This could be everything I've been working toward. What are you going to wear? Do you have a suit? You should definitely wear a suit. I don't own a suit. Then we're going shopping. Right now. This is happening, Alex. Your dreams are literally coming true. That night, I lie awake staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through every possible scenario. What if they offer me the job? What if they want to publish Quantum Echo? What if this mysterious new owner turns out to be some visionary investor who really does believe in the power of games to change the world? What if Marcus was wrong about everything? The Nexus Games offices are nothing like I expected. Instead of the sterile corporate environment I was anticipating, the space feels more like a hybrid between a tech startup and an art gallery. Exposed brick walls display concept art from various games. Developers work at standing desks surrounded by multiple monitors, and the overall vibe is creative chaos barely contained by professional necessity. Victoria Sterling meets me in the lobby, and she's nothing like the game industry executives I've encountered before. She's young, maybe early 30s, with the kind of sharp intelligence that immediately puts you on your toes. Her handshake is firm, her smile genuine, and her eyes hold the focused intensity of someone who's used to getting things done. Alex, thank you for coming in. I'm excited to talk with you. She leads me through the offices, pointing out various departments and ongoing projects. Since the acquisition, we've been completely restructuring our development priorities. The previous ownership was focused primarily on safe, market-tested concepts. Our new owner has a very different vision. Like what kind of vision? Innovation over iteration. Emotional impact over financial calculation. Games that push boundaries instead of following formulas. She pauses at a conference room overlooking the development floor. Games like Quantum Echo. We spend the next 2 hours going through my portfolio in exhaustive detail. Victoria asks technical questions about my programming choices, narrative questions about my story structure, design questions about my mechanical innovations. She challenges my assumptions, probes my creative process, and tests my knowledge of everything from player psychology to market positioning. But what strikes me most is that she actually understands what I'm trying to accomplish. When I explain the emotional mechanics of Quantum Echo, she nods along and asks follow-up questions that show she grasps the deeper implications. When I walk through my technical implementation, she suggests optimizations that demonstrate real expertise. I have to ask, I say during a brief break, this new direction for Nexus, it seems like a complete philosophical shift from your previous releases. Victoria smiles. Our new owner is someone who believes that games have the potential to be more than entertainment. They can be art, they can be meaningful communication, they can change how people think about themselves and the world around them. That's exactly what I've been trying to accomplish. I know. That's why you're here. She leans forward, her expression serious. Alex, I'm going to be direct with you. We want to offer you the creative director position. We want to publish Quantum Echo as our flagship release under new ownership. And we want to give you the resources to build the kind of games you've been dreaming about. The words hit me like a physical force. After 2 years of rejection, of being told my vision was too ambitious, or too weird, or too unmarketable, someone is not only accepting it, but embracing it. What kind of resources? I managed to ask. Full development team, unlimited budget for your first project, complete creative control, marketing support, everything you need to bring your vision to life without compromise. I I don't know what to say. Say yes. Victoria slides a contract across the table. Six-figure salary, equity participation, and a development budget that starts at $2 million. I stare at the numbers on the contract. 6 months ago, I was eating ramen noodles and wondering if I could afford next month's rent. Now someone is offering me more money than I ever imagined earning to do exactly what I've been dreaming of doing. Who is the new owner? I ask. I'd like to understand their vision for the company. They prefer to remain anonymous for now, but I can tell you that there's someone who understands the industry from the inside, someone who's been frustrated by the lack of innovation and risk-taking in mainstream game development. Someone who's been hurt by the industry's conservative approach. Someone who believes it's time for things to change. I pick up the pen Victoria has placed next to the contract. My hand is shaking slightly, but my resolve is crystal clear. Where do I sign? The next 6 months pass in a blur of the most creatively fulfilling work of my life. The Nexus development team is everything Victoria promised: talented, passionate, and completely committed to pushing boundaries. My $2 million budget becomes $3 million as the scope of Quantum Echo expands beyond my wildest dreams. We build Luna's world with meticulous attention to every detail. The time manipulation mechanics evolve into something more sophisticated than I originally envisioned, with emotional resonance that emerges naturally from the gameplay itself. The art style blends photorealistic environments with painterly character design, creating a visual language that's both grounded and dreamlike. But the real breakthrough comes when we integrate the narrative framework I've been developing. Instead of telling players Luna's story, we let them discover it through their own temporal experiments. Each puzzle solution reveals not just mechanical mastery, but emotional insight. Players don't just save the world, they understand why it's worth saving. The mysterious owner remains anonymous, but their influence is felt throughout the development process. Notes and suggestions arrive through Victoria, always thoughtful, always pushing the project toward greater ambition. They seem to understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish, often anticipating problems and suggesting solutions before issues arise. They really believe in what you're building, Victoria tells me one evening as we review the latest build. I've never worked with an investor who cares more about artistic vision than financial returns. It's almost too good to be true, I admit. Anonymous benefactor appears out of nowhere, buys a game studio, and immediately commits millions of dollars to experimental projects. It feels like something out of a fairy tale. Maybe you've earned a fairy tale ending after everything you've been through. As we approach the game's completion, industry buzz starts building. Preview coverage in gaming publications uses words like revolutionary and groundbreaking. Beta testers share testimonials about crying during puzzle sequences, about feeling genuine emotional weight in their temporal choices. Pre-order numbers exceed our most optimistic projections. For the first time in my life, I start to believe that maybe I was right all along. Maybe innovation does have value. Maybe the market was ready for something different. Maybe my family's concerns were unfounded. The irony isn't lost on me that Marcus's favorite studio is about to publish the game he called unmarketable. 3 weeks before Quantum Echo's official release, Victoria calls me into her office with an expression I can't read. Alex, I have some news. Our anonymous owner has decided it's time to reveal their identity. They want to meet with you personally before the launch. Really? That's exciting. I've been curious about them since day one. There's something else. Victoria's tone carries a note of concern. They've requested that the meeting happen at their private residence. It's unconventional, but they've been unconventional about everything else. She hands me an address in the affluent suburb where I grew up, not far from my parents' house. Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m., they're expecting you. The address is vaguely familiar, but I can't place it until I'm standing in front of the house on Saturday afternoon. It's a sprawling modern estate with floor-to-ceiling windows and the kind of manicured landscaping that screams serious money. The kind of house Marcus has always talked about buying once he makes partner at his firm. I ring the doorbell and wait, my mind racing with speculation about the mysterious benefactor who's about to change my life. A venture capitalist who made their fortune in tech? A successful game developer who remembers struggling with innovation? A philanthropist who believes in supporting artistic vision? The door opens and my world tilts on its axis. Hello, little brother. Marcus stands in the doorway wearing a casual sweater and the kind of satisfied smile I haven't seen since we were kids. Behind him, the house stretches out in expensive, minimalist perfection. Through the windows, I can see the same view of the city that I've been staring at from my studio apartment. Except from here, it looks manageable, controllable, owned. Surprise, he says. I stand frozen on his doorstep, my mind struggling to process what I'm seeing. You bought Nexus Games? $62 million, cash purchase through a shell company I set up specifically for the acquisition. He steps aside and gestures for me to enter. Come in. We have a lot to talk about. The interior of his house is everything I expected and nothing I could have prepared for. Minimalist furniture arranged with architectural precision, walls decorated with expensive art that probably cost more than I used to make in a year, and everywhere the subtle evidence of serious wealth. But what catches my attention are the details that speak to his true interests. A massive gaming setup in the living room, shelves lined with collector's editions of strategy games, and framed concept art from Empire of Shadows displayed like museum pieces. You're wondering how this is possible, Marcus says, following my gaze. How a corporate lawyer suddenly has $62 million to spend on acquiring game studios. The thought had crossed my mind. He leads me to a seating area overlooking the city. Remember how I always made fun of your little video game hobby? Well, it turns out I had my own little hobby. Day trading, cryptocurrency speculation, high-risk investments that most people would consider gambling. You never mentioned, because Mom and Dad would have killed me if they knew I was risking my savings on digital assets and startup stocks. But it turns out that all those years of calling you impractical and unrealistic, I was secretly betting my own money on the future you believed in. He pours himself a drink from an expensive-looking bottle. I bought Bitcoin when it was $40, Ethereum at $12. I invested early in companies that everyone said were pipe dreams. Tesla, Netflix, Amazon when it was just an online bookstore. I sink into one of his leather chairs, trying to process the magnitude of what he's telling me. You've been secretly supporting the same kind of innovation you publicly criticized? I've been hedging my bets. Publicly successful career in traditional finance, private investments in revolutionary technology. And it paid off, big time. So you bought Nexus Games because... What? You wanted to prove you could make money in the gaming industry too? Marcus's expression shifts, becoming more serious. I bought Nexus Games because 6 months ago at Mom and Dad's house, I watched my little brother present the most innovative game concept I'd ever seen. And I realized I'd been an asshole. The admission hangs in the air between us. Through the windows, the city sprawls out like a circuit board. Millions of lights representing millions of lives pursuing millions of dreams. Alex, do you remember what you said to me that night? About the difference between fitting into existing systems and changing them? I remember you calling my dreams pipe dreams. I remember you being right. Marcus sets down his drink and looks at me directly. I spent that whole drive home thinking about what you'd said. About innovation versus iteration. About measuring success by impact instead of profit. And I realized that everything I'd been criticizing you for, the risk-taking, the vision, the refusal to accept conventional wisdom, those were exactly the qualities that made my investments successful. So you decided to test your theory by secretly funding my career? I decided to test my theory by creating the conditions where your talent could actually succeed. He pulls out a tablet and shows me a financial breakdown. Quantum Echo's development budget, marketing campaign, launch support, distribution partnerships, everything you needed but couldn't access because the industry was too risk-averse to recognize what you were building. The numbers on the screen are staggering. Not just the $2 million I knew about, but additional investments in marketing, partnerships, and infrastructure that bring the total investment to nearly $8 million. You spent $8 million proving a point? I spent $8 million proving that my brother was right and I was wrong. And based on the pre-order numbers and industry buzz, it looks like I'm going to make that money back 10 times over. I stare at the financial projections, at the sales forecasts, at the evidence that Quantum Echo is about to become one of the year's biggest gaming success stories. Everything I dreamed about, everything I worked toward, everything my family said was impossible, it's all about to come true. But why the secrecy? Why not just tell me what you were doing? Marcus is quiet for a long moment, looking out at the city. Because I needed to know if your vision could succeed on its own merits. If I'd told you I was funding everything, would Quantum Echo have been the same game? Would you have pushed yourself as hard? Would the innovation have been as pure? You wanted to see if I could really do it. I wanted to see if the market would accept genuine innovation when it was presented properly, when it had proper funding, proper marketing, proper support. He turns back to me, and it turns out the answer is yes. The market doesn't hate innovation, it hates poorly funded innovation. It doesn't reject vision, it rejects vision that can't afford proper execution. The revelation settles over me like dawn after a long night. Everything I thought I knew about my success, about the industry, about my own capabilities, it's all more complicated than I realized. So what happens now, I ask? Now you become the creative director you've already proven yourself to be. Now Quantum Echo launches and shows the entire industry what's possible when you combine artistic vision with proper resources. Now you build the career you always deserved to have. Marcus stands up and walks to the window. And now I become the kind of investor who funds innovation instead of just criticizing it. The kind of brother who supports dreams instead of crushing them. He turns back to me, his expression serious. The kind of brother who realizes that sometimes the person everyone calls impractical is actually the only one being realistic about the future. As I drive home through the suburban streets where we grew up, past the parks where I used to imagine creating worlds, I try to process everything that's happened. The mysterious benefactor was my own brother. The career breakthrough I thought I'd earned through pure determination was actually made possible by secret family support. The validation I'd been seeking from the industry was orchestrated by someone who'd publicly questioned my choices, and it should feel like a betrayal, like my success has been diminished by the revelation that it wasn't entirely self-made. But instead, it feels like something more complex and more meaningful than simple individual achievement. It feels like redemption, not just for me, but for both of us. Marcus was wrong about dreams being impractical, but he was right about needing resources to make them real. I was right about the value of innovation, but I was naive about the business realities of bringing vision to market. Together, even unknowingly, we created something neither of us could have accomplished alone. The irony isn't lost on me. The brother who mocked my startup became the anonymous investor who made it successful. The family dinner where I felt most defeated became the catalyst for the biggest breakthrough of my career. The rejection that broke my heart led to the opportunity that fulfilled my dreams. But there's still one thing left to do. The next family dinner happens 3 weeks later, on the night before Quantum Echo's official launch. I arrive at my parents' house carrying the same leather portfolio, but this time it contains something different. Advance review copies of the game, signed contracts with distribution partners, and a check representing my first quarterly earnings as creative director of Nexus Games. The same people are gathered in the same backyard, but everything has changed. Dad still mans the grill with surgical precision, Mom still fusses over perfectly arranged side dishes, and Sarah still holds court near the fire pit. But now there's an undercurrent of anticipation that wasn't there before. Alex! Sarah waves me over with genuine excitement. We saw the preview coverage in Game Informer. This is incredible! Brad, who I now know works at the same investment firm where Marcus keeps his cryptocurrency portfolio, shakes my hand with newfound respect. The early reviews are phenomenal. You must be thrilled. It's been surreal, I admit, setting my portfolio on the patio table. 6 months ago, I was eating ramen noodles and wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. Now gaming magazines are calling Quantum Echo the future of interactive storytelling. Dad approaches with a platter of steaks, his expression proud but careful. We're all very excited for you, son. Very proud. Thanks, Dad. That means everything to me. Marcus appears at my shoulder, beer in hand, his expression unreadable. To everyone else, he probably looks like the same skeptical older brother who questioned my career choices 6 months ago, but I can see the barely contained satisfaction in his eyes, the knowledge that he played a crucial role in making this moment possible. So, he says, his voice carrying that familiar tone of challenge. Ready for the big launch tomorrow? Ready as I'll ever be. I accept the beer he offers me. Actually, I wanted to show everyone something. And I pull out my laptop and angle the screen toward the group. This is the final release trailer for Quantum Echo. It launches simultaneously across all major platforms tomorrow morning. For the next 3 minutes, my family watches Luna's story unfold in polished cinematic glory. The time manipulation mechanics that seemed so abstract in my early pitches now flow seamlessly into an emotional narrative about choice, consequence, and the weight of changing destiny. The production values are Hollywood level, the gameplay footage is mesmerizing, and the emotional impact is undeniable. When the trailer ends, the backyard is completely silent. Holy shit, Sarah whispers, then immediately covers her mouth. Sorry, Mom, but Alex, that's incredible. The pre-order numbers are through the roof, I continue, pulling up sales projections on my screen. We're tracking to move over 500,000 copies in the first month alone. Brad leans forward, his portfolio manager instincts engaged. What's the revenue projection on that? 30 million in gross sales, probably 15 million in net profit after distribution costs and marketing. The number lands like a small bomb. Dad sets down his grilling tools and stares at me. Mom emerges from the kitchen, drawn by the sudden quiet. Even Marcus looks impressed, though I suspect he already knows these numbers. $15 million? Mom asks quietly. That's just the first month. If the reviews hold up and word of mouth spreads, we could be looking at over 100 million in first-year revenue. Another silence, longer this time. I can see my family processing not just the financial success, but what it represents. Validation of everything they thought was impossible. Vindication of choices they questioned. Proof that dreams and business success aren't mutually exclusive. Alex, Dad says finally, his voice thick with emotion. I owe you an apology. Dad, you don't... Yes, I do. We all do. He looks around the backyard at the family gathered in the same space where 6 months ago we questioned your judgment. You saw something we couldn't see. You believed in something we didn't understand. And you were right. We were just worried about your future, Mom adds, tears gathering in her eyes. We wanted you to be safe, to be secure. I know, and I understand why you felt that way. But sometimes security comes from building something new, not just fitting into something that already exists. Marcus steps forward, and I can see the internal struggle playing out on his face. He wants to take credit for recognizing my potential, wants to reveal his role in making this success possible. But he also understands that doing so would diminish the moment, would shift focus from my achievement to his investment strategy. You proved me wrong, he says simply, about everything. I'm sorry for not believing in you from the beginning. You believed in me when it mattered, I reply, looking directly at him. Maybe not publicly, maybe not obviously, but you believed in me. His expression shifts slightly, a flicker of surprise at my acknowledgement of his secret support. But he doesn't reveal the full truth. Not yet, maybe not ever. And I realize that's okay. This moment isn't about his redemption, it's about mine. So what's next? Sarah asks. What do you do after you revolutionize the gaming industry? Keep revolutionizing it. I pull out another folder from my portfolio. I've been working on concepts for our next 3 projects. A virtual reality experience that lets players literally walk through historical events. An AI-driven narrative game that adapts its story based on the player's emotional responses. A collaborative puzzle platformer that requires multiple players to manipulate time and coordination with each other. More experimental projects? Dad asks, but his tone is shifted from concern to curiosity. The most experimental projects. Now that we've proven the market will accept innovation, we're going to push even further. We're going to explore what games can be when they're not constrained by conventional thinking. As the evening progresses, the conversation shifts from my career to family news, but the undercurrent has permanently changed. I'm no longer the impractical dreamer they worry about. I'm the successful entrepreneur they're proud of. The transformation isn't just in their perception of me, but in my understanding of how success actually works. Marcus finds me by the fire pit later, when the others have drifted inside to help with dessert. "Enjoying your vindication?" he asks quietly. "Enjoying the validation more than the vindication," I reply. Vindication implies I needed to prove them wrong. Validation means I proved myself right. Fair distinction. He pokes at the fire with a stick, sending sparks into the night sky. Any regrets about how it all played out? I consider the question seriously. Do I regret not knowing about his secret support? Do I wish I'd achieved success entirely through my own efforts? Do I feel like the victory is somehow diminished by the revelation that it wasn't purely self-made? No regrets, I say finally. Everything happened the way it needed to happen. You needed to see that innovation has value. I needed to learn that vision without resources is just fantasy. The industry needed to see that there's a market for experimental games when they're properly funded and marketed. And our family needed to see that sometimes the person everyone calls impractical is actually the only one being realistic about the future. That too. We sit in comfortable silence, watching the fire consume itself and rebuild. A perfect metaphor for destruction and creation, ending and beginning, failure and success. The suburban streets where we grew up stretch out around us, full of houses where other families are having their own conversations about dreams and reality, risk and security, tradition and innovation. "There's something else," Marcus says eventually. "Something I've been thinking about since that night 6 months ago." "What's that?" "I want to start an investment fund, specifically focused on creative projects that traditional investors consider too risky. Games, films, art installations, experimental media. Things that might change the world, but don't fit conventional business models. Using your crypto fortune to fund other people's dreams? Using my crypto fortune to fund other people's revolutions." He looks at me seriously. "And I want you to help me evaluate potential investments. You have the vision to see what's possible. I have the resources to make it real." The offer hangs in the air between us, loaded with possibility and redemption and the chance to transform our relationship from competition to collaboration. "Partners," I ask. "Partners." We shake hands over the dying fire. Two brothers who spent years misunderstanding each other, but finally found a way to combine our different strengths toward a common goal. The night air carries the scent of barbecue smoke and possibility, family and future, dreams that turned out to be more realistic than anyone imagined. Launch day arrives with the surreal quality of a dream becoming reality. I wake up in my studio apartment, which I've decided to keep despite now being able to afford something much nicer, and immediately check the sales dashboard on my phone. The numbers are already beyond our most optimistic projections. Quantum Echo has sold over 200,000 copies in the first 6 hours, with reviews averaging 9.2 out of 10 across all major gaming publications. The Nexus Games offices buzz with controlled excitement. Victoria orchestrates media interviews while the development team monitors server capacity and player feedback. Social media explodes with screenshots, video clips, and testimonials from players who are discovering Luna's world for the first time. But the moment that makes everything real happens at 3 p.m., when I receive a call from the CEO of the company that rejected my original pitch. "Alex Chen? This is David Morrison from Nexus Games." Well, former Nexus Games. "I understand congratulations are in order." "Thank you. It's been an incredible day." "I wanted to call personally to apologize. When I rejected your pitch 6 months ago, I made one of the biggest mistakes of my career. Quantum Echo is exactly the kind of innovative project our industry needs. The irony of receiving an apology from someone who doesn't realize he's talking to his own replacement isn't lost on me." "I appreciate that, David. No hard feelings." "I hear Nexus is developing quite a reputation for experimental projects under new ownership. Any chance you're looking for experienced leadership to help guide future development?" I almost laugh. "I think we're all set on leadership, but I'll keep you in mind if anything opens up." After I hang up, Victoria appears at my office door with a bottle of champagne and a grin that could power the city. Final numbers for day one, she announces, popping the cork. 437,000 copies sold. Gross revenue of $26.2 million, number one on every digital platform, and the reviews. She hands me a tablet showing aggregated scores. Universal critical acclaim. Players are calling it a masterpiece. I take a sip of champagne and look out the window at the city where I grew up dreaming of moments like this. Somewhere out there, Marcus is probably checking the same sales numbers, calculating return on investment, and planning our next collaboration. Somewhere out there, my parents are calling their friends to brag about their son, the successful game developer. Somewhere out there, thousands of players are experiencing Luna's story and discovering that games can be more than entertainment. They can be art, emotion, revelation. So, Victoria says, settling into the chair across from my desk, ready to change the industry again? Ready to prove that this wasn't a fluke, that innovation isn't just viable, it's the future. And if people say it can't be done, I think about Marcus's transformation from skeptic to secret supporter to open collaborator. I think about my family's journey from concern to pride. I think about an industry that's slowly learning to value vision alongside profit. Then we'll prove them wrong, I say, one impossible dream at a time. The champagne tastes like vindication and possibility, like family dinners where I'm no longer defending my choices, but celebrating their success. Like a future where creativity and commerce aren't opposing forces, but complementary strengths. Outside my window, the city sparkles with the light of millions of dreams pursuing millions of possibilities. And for the first time in my life, I know with absolute certainty that mine are no longer just dreams, they're reality. And they're just getting started. 6 months later, I'm standing in the same conference room where Victoria first offered me the creative director position. But now, the walls are covered with awards, industry recognition, and concept art for our next 3 projects. Quantum Echo didn't just succeed. It redefined what success looks like in the gaming industry. Total sales have exceeded $200 million. The game has been translated into 37 languages, and film studios are competing for movie adaptation rights. But more importantly, it opened doors for other experimental projects throughout the industry. Publishers who once rejected innovation are now actively seeking it. Independent developers who were told their visions were too ambitious are finding funding and support. The market that everyone said didn't exist for meaningful artistic games has proven to be not just viable, but incredibly lucrative. Marcus's investment fund has grown from a personal project to a major force in creative financing. We've funded everything from virtual reality art installations to interactive documentaries to experimental music platforms. The brother who once called my dreams impractical has become one of the industry's most successful advocates for creative risk-taking. And our family dinners? They've become celebrations of possibility rather than interventions about practicality. Last month, Sarah announced she's leaving her marketing director position to start her own agency focused specifically on promoting innovative, creative projects. Mom and Dad have started attending gaming conventions and art exhibitions, proud ambassadors for their children's unconventional career choices. The best part isn't the financial success or the industry recognition or even the family validation. The best part is waking up every morning excited to build something that's never been built before, to tell stories that haven't been told, to push boundaries that other people think are fixed. The best part is knowing that sometimes the most realistic thing you can do is believe in the impossible. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the people who love you will eventually believe in it too.